My cousin kept lowering my landscaping bids to help his friends. He had no idea the system was emailing me every single change. I've worked at my uncle's landscaping company in rural Pennsylvania for 4 years now, handling all the scheduling and client bids through our shared online calendar system. My cousin Brandon manages the finances and has been there for 8 years, so he's always acted like he runs the place even though our uncle owns it. The first time I noticed something off was back in March with a lawn aeration job for the Hendersons. I'd bid it at $650 based on the square footage and our standard rates. When I checked the system 2 days later, the final quote sent to the client was $450. We did the job and barely broke even after labor and equipment costs. I figured maybe I'd made a mistake entering it initially. Then it happened again in April with 3 fence installation jobs. I'd calculated materials, labor, everything, bid them each around $3,200 to $3,800 depending on footage. Every single one got changed to around $2,600 before the clients received them. We ran short on materials halfway through because my original calculations were actually correct. I had to scramble to adjust crew schedules and eat the extra delivery fees. That's when I started paying closer attention. Here's the thing about our calendar system. When I first set it up, I configured it to send me automated email notifications whenever anything changed. Originally, it was just so I'd have reminders for my own reference, and I routed them all to a personal folder I checked maybe once a week. Nobody else knew about it. I started actually reading those backup emails. Every single alteration had a timestamp and user ID, Brandon's login, every time. And I started recognizing the client names. The Hendersons, Brandon's buddy from high school. The fence jobs, guys from his softball league. He was helping his friends get cheaper landscaping work while making our family business eat the losses. In May, we landed our biggest contract of the season, a major retaining wall project for the Kowalskis. I bid it carefully at $18,000 based on the massive amount of materials, engineering requirements, and 3 weeks of crew time. 2 days after I submitted it, I got the automated email. Brandon had changed it to $14,500. I didn't say anything, just kept collecting those email notifications in my archive folder. The job was a disaster. We couldn't order enough materials without going over budget. The payments from the clients were delayed because Brandon had restructured the payment schedule too. Our primary vendor started threatening to cut our credit line because we kept having to reorder supplies we should have budgeted for correctly the first time. At our quarterly review meeting in June, my uncle sat us both down to go through the numbers. Brandon jumped in first, all confident. "I think the problem is the initial estimates," he said, looking right at me. "Maybe we need someone with more experience handling the bids. The numbers just aren't adding up." My uncle looked concerned. "You've been losing money on jobs? Over $4,000 in the last 3 months," Brandon said. "I've been trying to fix the bids before they go out, but the margins are still too tight." I pulled out my folder, printed copies of every single backup email notification, highlighted and organized by date. "Actually, let's look at the Henderson job," I said, sliding the first page across the table. I bid $650 on March 12th at 2:15 p.m. Brandon changed it to $450 on March 14th at 9:47 a.m. We lost $180 after labor. Brandon's face went completely white. I kept going. Miller fence installation. My bid, $3,400. Brandon's change, $2,600. Lost $190 plus delivery fees. I laid out page after page. Dates, timestamps, original amounts, altered amounts, losses. The Kowalski retaining wall. I bid $18,000, which would have given us a healthy margin. Brandon cut it to $14,500. We're barely going to break even, and we nearly lost our vendor credit. My uncle picked up the pages, studying Brandon's login credentials on every single alteration. His jaw was clenched so tight I could see the muscle jumping. "These clients," my uncle said quietly. "These are all your friends." Brandon tried to speak, but nothing came out. My uncle's voice went cold. "Your profit sharing is suspended effective immediately. You're off finances. You'll be working crew labor until I decide if you're staying at all." He turned to me. "You handle all bid approvals now. Nothing goes to clients without your signature." The next Monday, I watched Brandon load 50-pound bags of mulch into the truck bed, his dress shirts replaced with work clothes covered in dirt. He couldn't even look at me when I handed him the day's assignment sheet. I'd spent 4 years watching him treat this business like his personal favor dispensary for his buddies. Turns out, the system I set up to keep myself organized was the same thing that took him down.